Oh, hello. Let me get myself, you're here. Turn my thing so I look at you because I want to look here at myself. I don't know how you guys get used to that.
What's that?
Looking at the camera, and so
Uh-huh.
it looks like you're looking at you and not trying to look at yourself.
The point, I'm not an expert, but I think I'm becoming one. I
Yeah.
got to the point where I just look at myself when I talk and go, okay, I'm talking to myself, but I hear this voice over
And I
here.
have to remember to look at the little green thing. Otherwise, it looks like I'm looking over here somehow because I'm trying to look at myself. And I just
Yeah.
have to just not look at myself and just trust that it's all good.
Oh my God, technology, right?
I
I don't know
know.
how these journalists do it, the people that are TV personalities and blah, blah, blah. It's like, God bless you
I know.
for doing so well, doing your job so perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me what has been going on with you and the marvelous, not marvelous. That sounds like McDonald's
I was
instead of
just gonna say I don't know what marvelous is, but I'll take it.
I'll say to my husband, okay, we'll stop at McDonald's if you want to. He says, well, McDonald's would be nice. I don't know about McDonald's.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, haven't you seen Coming to America? Everything
Oh, yeah.
and growing up, it was not Michael Jackson, it was Macca Jackson.
Yeah,
Macca Jackson!
Michael Jackson. That's right. And the moonwalk after.
Look, it's Macca Jackson.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, how well is 2020 been to you so far? Share with us.
2020, 2021.
Oh, 21. Yes. Where
I
my
don't know
years
what year you're
at?
in.
Yes, I'm a year behind. Mind you,
I
we're
even
only
started
3 months
2020.
in. We're only 3 months in, and I'm already
Oh my
behind.
God. Well, it's because it's a continuous of the same. But,
Yeah.
for me, 2020, it actually represents a pivot.
Mm,
Like, I mean, everybody knows we don't have to get into all about COVID and all that sort of thing because we're all
right.
still experiencing it. And touch wood, we're going to come out the other side of it fairly soon. But for
Right.
me, why I'll say 2020 was such a pivotal year is because we made that decision, at least on my end, to start a coaching business. I
Right.
finished up my coaching, what do you want to call it? Uh,
Certification.
yeah, all that sort of stuff. About this time last year, actually, and I was the last class of, if you want to call it graduates, whatever you'd like to call us,
Right.
that graduated before the lockdown. So we
Wow.
were in person throughout the entire stretch of the time we were training, all that sort of time. And little did we know, because we were all kind of whispering about it, little did we know that we would be in this new world. Anyway, so, did that in March. But what happened is that later that year, so I would say in the summer, I did launch Ledi Coaching and Consulting
Oh,
while I'm working full time in
okay.
addiction mental health in a healthcare system. I'm a program manager, have 6 different programs underneath me. No, no
Wow.
matter. We're
You're
going
a
to
busy
launch
woman.
anyway because, yes, exactly. The side gig is going to eventually become the full-time gig because really this, if I want to call it the side gig, and that's really not, that's the kind of the crass way of putting it. It's my passion. And
Mm-hmm.
it's about following my passion and stepping into my passion at that time and helping people and growing alongside them as I walk alongside them and help them transform. And it's been wonderful
Right.
since that time up until now. That's what I've been doing.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. So, what was your mindset when you graduate, complete your process of getting your credentials to be a professional coach? And you're also a speaker too, right?
Yes, a
Yeah,
budding
I'm
speaker.
back.
I
Yeah,
may not
you're
be able to tell it right now, but yes.
well, you know what? Let's face it. The reality is 2020 brought on a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And one of the things is a lot of people got into speaking. Me personally, I embraced it a little bit sooner and more than I have ever in the past. It was something that was always on my to-do list, always in my plan and vision for myself and my business as a business owner, let's say,
Yeah.
because of what I stand for. You know, I'm a huge advocate for women. I'm a huge
Yes.
advocate for women. I'm sorry, women and young people's career development.
Yeah.
I'm also a huge advocate for young people in a sense of things that I wasn't in a predicament of learning as I was
Mhm.
growing up to prepare me for the real world,
Mhm.
finances, bookkeeping, managing your bank
Yeah.
account and all that kind of stuff, your check
Yeah.
account, whatever. So those type of things and
Mhm.
getting ready for college so that you can get
Yes.
ready for the real world. All
Yes.
of that stuff is very keen and important to me in
Mhm.
helping our future. But as you have completed all that you've done, what went through your head when the pandemic hit? How did you feel?
Oh my goodness. It was surreal because everything I had in mind would have how I was going to go about you know, where even I was going to practice, meeting with my clients, in terms of um, out in the community and renting out a space and doing all these different things. No siree, everything's online. And
Yeah.
I don't think well, for most people, I mean, I've never been online this much in my entire life, much less doing any sort of coaching, anything like that online. Because even as myself, I'm one of these coaches that strongly believes that as a coach, you need a coach. You don't just,
Yeah.
one day you know everything and all that sort of thing. I've always been a strong proponent of that, and I still am. So I'm living what I speak. So everything I had ever experienced had been, like I was even mentioning, face to face. And so pivoting to this new format, and for me, and then also pivoting, as a new business owner, it was like,
Yeah.
ooh, steep learning curve, steep learning curve. And then also, I mean, as you've talked about in terms of starting to get out there more in terms of speaking,
Hmm.
everything I had ever done had been in front of a live audience. So
Yeah.
adapting to Zoom, that's why I was making all this noise about where to put my eyes and all this stuff at the beginning of all of this, because I'm still adapting to it.
That's
And
right.
it's so surreal, depending on, if let's say you're sitting there and you don't have your camera on, and
Yeah.
or the other person, I should say, in front of you doesn't have their camera on. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
because I like to feed off the energy and see
That's right.
the whites of the other person's eyes, not just for anything more than just genuine connection.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there's times where I have a meeting with someone via Zoom and their screen is not on. I feel a little funny, and
Yes,
I feel as though it's so unpersonable.
yes.
And if you are multitasking, then maybe this meeting should have been scheduled at a later time
Oh
when I
my
can have
goodness,
your
when you're hearing the
undivided
click, click,
attention.
click, click, click in the background.
Well, what I get, oh gosh. So some of the experiences that I've had was I did an interview for someone
Mhm.
and she kept turning her camera on and off, on and off. And she went to the bathroom. She she was still trying to put her face on. She was trying to do her hair. And I'm like, why did she schedule this? And I'm
Oh
going,
my.
I'm doing this for you. I'm helping out the business community. I'm doing this for you. I'm making my contribution.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you didn't care enough to be ready for me.
Oh
You didn't care enough to
wow.
be ready for this. So now we got to spend extra time editing out all of this nonsense. And there's certain things we couldn't edit because she was talking with the screen on. So I was like, how do we edit that?
Do people realize that even though the camera's off and they can't see you, there's volume, and you can still, at least, you may not be able to see each other, but you can still hear. Like, it's almost like people forget not only
Yeah.
just the social grace, but I'm going to say it, common sense.
Yeah. I
Like, I
think
don't
it's
get it.
I think it's more on the level of being a little selfish. They're thinking about their
Oh,
own level of embarrassment. They're thinking about their own level of preparation. So it's the lack of preparation and their own embarrassment. So it's a little selfish act because, again, the one particular person that I was giving you an example of, um, she was talking, she turned on the camera and then she turned it off. She turned it on and she turned it off throughout the whole interview. And she was talking when the camera was off. So, and there's been plenty of times in spite of her where I would say, can you see me because I'm sharing my screen? And these are
right,
meetings, not interviews, not expert interviews.
right, right.
And I say, well, can you see my screen? I want to know if they can see me, although I
Mhm.
can't see them.
Right.
Yeah, I see everything. So they're able to see you,
Yeah.
but they don't want to be seen by
Mm,
you. And
right.
I feel as though that is minimizing that personalization even
Yes.
more. We're
Yes.
already struggling with the human
Connection.
engagement
Yeah.
and contact and
Mhm.
communication because of this pandemic.
Yes.
Why worsen it even further
Mhm.
by not showing your face when you're on Zoom? Why even bother doing Zoom?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
can pick up
Well,
the phone and
I've
talk to you on
often
the phone.
on the phone, exactly. Because sometimes I've wondered, because everybody gets it. I've been in meetings and stuff like that. I turn off my camera because the phone's ringing and something's going on. But I also make it known up front that that's possibly going to happen in certain
Right.
situations. I'll allow it. Otherwise, absolutely not. Especially, let's say I'm doing, for example, what we're doing right now, or
Yeah.
I'm coaching and stuff. Absolutely not. Those are my boundaries, and that's what I
Yeah.
bring to the table as well. Because how on earth can you show up like that? Because I feel it's not even just a matter like when you're connecting with somebody, you have to be present. Yeah,
Mhm.
to fully connect, and how you show up. Sometimes I've actually wondered, like you mentioned, in terms of, there might be a bit of selfishness or something. I had always thought of it as, well, is there some sort of embarrassment, or is there some sort of lack of confidence? I think we might be on the same continuum of what we're discussing
Right.
here, but I just know that I've actually wondered that too. Like, what is that all about? Just in terms of my own curiosity.
Well, let's go a little bit further back in history,
Okay.
pre-COVID
Pre-COVID.
19.
Okay.
And it's no different, in my eyes, it's no different than people who show up in a in-person meeting, in a in-person conference room,
Yeah.
not a conference event, but a conference room
Yeah.
where you're sitting among your peers and you're supposed to be discussing business at matter
Yes.
and coming up with solutions and
Yes.
being productive. Now, we all know that a lot of corporate people's pet peeve is too many meetings. You have a meeting to discuss about the meeting that you're going to have a meeting about.
True. Okay.
But
Yes,
why
that
is
does happen.
But think about that, Denise. Why is that? It's mainly because the meetings are not productive. Well, why aren't they productive? A part of it is the agenda.
Yeah.
Writing out a well thought out agenda, executing it, and sticking to it.
Yeah.
There's people that I have a meeting with and they jump all over the board. And as I'm
Yes.
starting off with the first 2, 3 minutes, they're throwing questions at me,
Yeah.
great questions,
Yeah.
but let me get to that point. Allow me to do my
Exactly.
thing with the agenda before you start throwing, well, what's the date? What was the time? And what is
Yeah.
it? Well, that's why we're having a meeting to figure that out
Exactly.
together as a group.
Exactly.
This is not information I came prepared to tell you. We having the
Exactly.
meeting to discuss
To
this.
discuss that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, when you have people that are bouncing all over the place, you have people that are on their devices,
Yes.
tablets, laptops, cell
Yes.
phone, they're not giving their undivided attention. It's a level of disrespect.
Absolutely. It
It's a
is.
level of
I agree with
disrespect
you. I agree with you because
and
you've taken the
inconsideration.
time to come prepared. Let's say it's you who's prepared the agenda, right?
Mhm.
Um, which I will say kudos to you, because so many people don't. They just show up and they just want to wing it, right?
Right.
You have this, you don't even know what you're coming to the meeting for other than this vague outline of whatever. And number two, a timeline in terms of like maybe how much time you're going to spend on each discussion point, so you don't
Yes,
lose the thread of what you're talking about,
that's
and you're
right.
building upon each point, and so you can come to the consensus
And
and the,
who is going to talk about that topic, so
exactly,
that everybody's not all over the place and dominating the other, and
exactly,
being disrespectful and say, let's move on, let's get on to
yeah,
the next one, I got
yeah,
another meeting. Well, you
yeah.
knew this meeting was going to happen, so don't
Mhm.
rush the process.
Exactly. Well, it's a way of showing not only just the respect that you're talking about, but making sure everybody's voice is heard. Because when
Yes,
you have it structured like how you're talking about, and even with maybe the key people who are going to speak on a discussion point, because maybe they're the subject matter experts or they're coming to
right.
something with a discussion that has to be discussed. We all know in most meetings, at least the ones that I have gone to or chair or
Exactly.
whatever, that have gone well, that you have discussion. Everybody is going to
That's right.
participate in that way. So it's a way to ensure not only just the respect, the collaboration, the orderliness of what needs to happen, and making sure you're bringing forth and building upon each point, but you're making
Absolutely.
sure everybody's voice is heard. Because one of the things that I feel that when people are jumping in and all this sort of thing, it's like they're afraid. They're afraid they're going to miss the mark, or they're going to afraid that they won't be heard, or they're going to they I don't know. It's just this
Shine.
weird impulse that you
Or
see.
shine. Some I
Yes.
find that I could be wrong, but I find that sometimes maybe people are doing it because they need to be the one to say that they said that, or that they asked that and stuff, when in fact you're coming across very rude, offensive, and disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, that's another thing when people come to meetings with preconceived agendas and have their own a game plan in mind about what they want to achieve and what they need to say for things that have nothing to do with the meeting in hand, but have everything to do with, let's say, other politics, other brownie points you need to score. And I'm maybe being
Yeah.
a little bit facetious, but I've seen it time and time again. But you're absolutely right. When that does come up, because I often wonder, like, why it just throws things off. And just even the if you want to call it the dynamics and the flow of what it
Mhm.
is that you're trying to do, it's just off.
It is off. In fact, I'm not big on status. I'm not big on brands per se. Like, I'm not going to run around saying, "Ooh, my phone is Gucci and it's fabulous because it's Gucci." No, I want the best deal I can get for the best quality.
Yeah,
And they say, "Well, what brand is it?" I don't know.
I don't know.
I had, I had a technician come by to troubleshoot yet again more technical issues we've been having, but it turns out that it's more of a connectivity issue in a brand new built home than anything. And we were talking about one of our TVs. We have an 82-inch TV on the first floor,
Oh,
and he was making comments about the model is the brand is Samsung. I love
okay.
everything
Yeah,
Samsung.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
because I'm a huge fan of their product for phones.
Right.
And some of the things he was saying made me feel like maybe Samsung is not the right product
Yeah.
for TVs. Because when we
Okay.
purchased the TV, knowing that it was Samsung and knowing that we're such huge fans for them, and in the perspective of the phones, the cell phones, that the TV's got to be great product, a great quality. And I said to him, "What are the top qualities? Because I want to make sure I do get. There's certain
Yeah,
things I want to get the best bang for my buck, and there's
absolutely.
certain things I want to make sure I really invest in,
Yeah,
so that I don't have issues that are
right.
costly in other ways."
That's right.
And he says, "Samsung." I was like, "Okay." Well, he says LG because he was talking about all these different brands. And he says, "Well, technically, Samsung is up there if you get the more expensive models and all this stuff." I was like, all right. I'm hearing wah, 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 wah,
Yeah,
wah,
yeah,
wah, wah,
yeah,
wah, wah.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. But I feel as though when I see people that I'm engaging with and
Mhm.
that I'm trying to collaborate with or that I'm hired to work with, I view those type of people that we were just describing as difficult to work with
Yes.
and
Well,
someone that I'm not interested in work. And I don't care. And oh, so the reason why I went on that whole rampage, by the way, about brand and status and stuff is because I wanted to say, I don't care how popular you are in the
mhm,
industry, how big to do you are, or how much of an expert you are in the industry for
mhm.
what you do.
Yeah.
You have just proven to me that you're not the ideal person I will want to collaborate with ever again or work
Absolutely.
with because you're difficult
Absolutely.
and you're rude and you're unprofessional.
And you're rude. Well, for people, I'm just thinking as a coach, are you humble? Are you teachable?
Yes.
Because when you are those things, you you don't have all the answers. You do come at it from a question, or sorry, a position of curiosity
Right.
and the learning and seeking and all of that sort of thing. So as you're doing that, you do stop and listen. You do take a pause. You're not
Mhm.
jumping ahead to all these different things that you're talking about and boasting about, whatever status you may or may not have. It's
Right.
actually and I think that that whole thread about are you teachable, are you humble, does speak to what you're talking about, Gracie.
Right. Right. And if I don't see that, then I feel as though forcing to work with people because of their status is only going to damage one of the two of you, if not both of you.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's such an important lesson because I think, right now, and we're such a status driven society,
Mm,
and it's all about being big, the biggest and the best and all this sort of stuff. And it's what we're talking about is core human qualities,
right.
in terms of where our values align. Maybe for some other people, what we're talking about, that's all okay. They don't mind, but I sure do, because
Yeah.
that doesn't align with me. That doesn't align with my vision of who it is I'm here to help. Because I actually don't know how I would help such a person who is
Yeah.
along the lines of what you're describing.
I've gotten to the point where I found myself saying the words, I'm the expert in this. Let me be heard. But if I have to say that in the
Mhm,
presence of colleagues that are supposed to be professionals, then I question me. I question what it is that if I'm humble enough to sit there and
mhm.
be silent and let them, because you can only show off by yourself. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm
yeah,
sorry, you can only show off with someone else.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if someone wants to show off, show out, and
Mhm,
behave an inappropriate way,
mhm,
not have that humbleness among their peers when you're
mhm,
working together as a group or or learning,
mhm.
um, then I need to have the humbleness of letting them feel like they're right and
Mm.
just let them take the floor for the moment and then say, I'll never work with them ever again.
Say it perfectly. But yes, I hear what you're saying because you're talking about even about your standards and how you show up and not
Yes,
coming down. And I'll use
to
that
their
word,
level.
coming down to
Yeah.
that level, and showing just in terms of your presence and how you're interacting and dealing with that, no, I'm going to stand in my principles and you do you, you know,
Yeah.
and we'll let this play out.
Wow. I love that. You know what I love about these expert interviews even more so? How it just takes an organic approach in the conversation and stuff. And
Yes.
you're one of those experts that I've had the privilege and honor of interviewing and being able to go in there with one intentions and allow the conversation to form organically in the direction it needs to go in. And with that being said, I want to talk a little bit more about exactly what it is that you focus on as a coach. Who's your target market? Who is it that is, what's your sweet spot? You know, there's so many coaches is out there these days.
Mhm.
You know, you got a coach for wellness, a coach for mental stage, a coach for speaking, a coach for business, a coach for women, a coach for working moms, and trust
I
me,
know,
we need
you're
them.
right. I'm laughing because it's
We need
true. Like,
them.
what is all of this, right?
You know, there's a coach for happy coach. One of my closest and dearest friends that I truly value. I said, I never heard of a happy coach.
Happiness coach.
What's a happy coach? You teach me how to be happy?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
sign me up.
Yeah.
But there's so many coaches out there. And again, and I say this with all seriousness, we
Mhm.
need these people who have these unique niches because I can't come to, oh, and this is more beautiful. I can't come to a marriage counselor who doesn't know what it's like to deal with infidelity
Yeah.
or doesn't know how to deal with the
Yeah.
finances, you know, whatever
Yeah.
your sweet spot is. The
Yeah.
same colleague of mine that I mentioned is a happy coach
Mhm.
has two sweet spots.
Okay.
And her happy coach is really geared towards married couples, but
Mhm.
her expertise with married couples happens to be in the area of infidelity. She really
Okay.
knows how to pull couples out of those
Right.
situations. So,
Right.
what is your expertise? What is your sweet
Well,
spot?
when I tell people I'm a leadership coach, everyone will go, oh, okay, all of a sudden, they understand exactly what I mean. But I think to really flesh out what I mean is I have to kind of tell a little bit about my story,
Yes,
just a little bit. Um,
please.
yeah, like I know at the beginning of this, I said that that I coming from addiction mental health, so long time career in the mental health field. I actually stumbled into it from school. I was going to go and be a lawyer, I thought. So my background is actually in criminology. I have a master's degree in criminology. I thought I was going to go and be a criminal lawyer, or I was
I'm
going to be some
impressed
sort
with
of
that.
prosecutor. Yeah, I know. But when I went into the doing the pre-law stuff, I said, oh my God, this sucks. So I spoke to my advisor and I said, you know what? This is about winning arguments and really, from what I could see, helping, if I'm going to use that word, getting people off that I really didn't believe in. I
Right.
wanted to help people, and I fundamentally has always been the thread in my entire story.
Mm.
So when I went to my advisor, I did a pivot. He said, "Well, how about you go to Alberta Hospital Edmonton, which is our major psychiatric facility here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada." Anyways, 20 some years later, climbing up the ranks in leadership because I, obviously springing in from literally a student all the way into, the leadership positions in various departments. One of the things that I really, really found is that, yes, I really loved working with the patients, really loved working with the clients if they're in community, but I really liked working with the staff members, building teams, but also as you're building teams, helping those leaders really find their voice, find their gifts, and help really kind of building other people up in that way. But one of the things that I really, really found is that as you're doing that, I guess that journey of walking alongside people,
Mhm.
because everybody has their own unique gifts, everybody has their own unique styles, and I guess as I've been doing that is helping them realize what that is for them. So I
Right.
guess that's where the tagline empowerment coach comes up as well,
Mm.
because empowering them to discover what their unique gifts are, to use their voice
Right.
in the ways that they need to lead not only their teams, but more importantly themselves. And that's where the leadership part really comes into play, because everyone thinks it's all about, building teams and all that sort of stuff. That is absolutely true, but it starts here and it starts within. So
Yes, it does.
really, self leadership is really what I'm talking about. So finding those nuggets and finding those unique gifts. But a lot of that, as you're doing that, means uncovering those limiting beliefs, that's maybe holding them back from showing up fully unleashed and leading in the way that they need to do that.
Right.
And the limiting mindsets, because I know I had to overcome those types of things. And I will say that, and I'm going to throw it in there, as a minority woman in a place where there's not too many of me around. You
No.
have to find, oh yeah, that's a whole nother subject in and
Yes,
of
it is.
itself, in terms of who you are. And then, like I said, being that principled person and sticking to your principles in a way that is going to empower. That has been, along my own journey, my own leadership journey, in terms of my own personal growth, but I would also say my sweet spot is that finding or being that guide, being that, if you want to call it mentor, almost like a buddy, big sister in some respects, because it's a lot of maybe sometimes newer
Accountability
people.
partner.
Yes, all of those types of things.
Yeah.
And yes, I work with everybody, but I'm not going to lie. It's interesting that, women have gravitated to me, women of color have gravitated to me, and I have that almost as a sub niche. It's not something I have ever advertised. It's just what seems to be evolving. And I think it's because they know I get it. You talked
Yeah.
about, going to a marriage counselor, that, obviously who has the experience to have dealt with, let's say it's infidelity or whatever it is that that person's dealing with. I've been in the industry, in a leadership position for over 20 years. And
Mhm.
that's not even including informal positions when you don't have the title, but I have walked that walk. And then so many times when I'm hearing their stories and their challenges, it is bringing back deja vu. It is
Mhm.
bringing back, been
Yeah.
there, done that, in terms of my own personal experiences as a leader, not even mentioning anything to do with coaching or anything to do with all of that sort of stuff. They're telling my story, or they're at a part of my story that I've been through. So I think that if I'm in terms of answering your question, Gracie,
Yes.
is my sweet spot is in terms of like, I get it.
Well, and I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna throw my shoe at my cat because she's doing everything that she's not supposed to do.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
She's meowing, she's scratching at the door. Oh God. Um, I agree with you because I'm a firm believer that in order for us to be an example, we have had to gone through what
Yes.
people are experiencing.
Yes.
That's why, as difficult and as challenging my past has been in some areas,
Mhm.
I am grateful for it because
Absolutely.
it's made me the woman that I am today. And it's
Mhm.
shaping me into being the woman that I will be tomorrow. And
Absolutely.
if I am an advocate for our young people and other women, whether they're of color or not, I need to be able to help them authentically. And I
Absolutely.
can't do that unless I've experienced some things that they are going through or may be experiencing themselves.
Absolutely. Because you
So I totally get it.
understand on that, it's not even just, it's that understanding, not just on, I want to say a theoretical level, you understand it on a deeply personal level, right? And
Yes.
you have, and I'm so glad you mentioned the things that you've gone through. And I can certainly say the same things, the challenges that may have just was knocking you on your butt. Those are
Yeah.
gifts. Those are
There are
lessons that you
gifts.
needed to have, and you're now able to have gone through and share the wisdom, because that's what it is, that those lessons have given you to with other people. And that's what the world needs, is for us to all share our personal experiences, our gifts, as I'll call them, to help elevate whomever it is that is along our path.
My mission, when I think of my mission, I'm very big on vision boards. I have my vision board on the wall in front of me,
Yeah.
and I've done presentation and speaking engagements around vision board. But if
Mhm.
I was to envision the mission that I have
Yeah.
in life, it is to be on a ladder climbing. And as I'm reaching up to
Mhm.
step up higher, I'm leaning back
I
and
love
I'm
that.
grabbing that sister or that brother and
Mhm.
saying, come on, you can come on up here with me.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take the next step so that I can keep bringing you with
Mhm.
me. Not have you behind me, but beside me, and
I
maybe
love
even
it.
ahead of me. Whatever your destination has in place for you, I'm here to help you, not to compete with you.
Exactly.
My
Well,
destiny is mine, and it
I
was written a
totally,
long time ago.
totally agree with you. That's why you and I are so aligned, because
Mhm.
that is, I use the phrase walking alongside people, but I love that visual of lifting, your arm up to that next rung on the ladder, and then at the same time reaching behind you and
Pulling
pulling
that person
and
up.
guiding and all the other stuff, the other person. And that is along the same analogy of when I'm talking about walking alongside somebody and empowering them and
Mhm.
helping elevate and bringing out whatever it is that they need to bring out to take those next steps. We're talking the same things, and that is such um it's such a different, and I would normally just say different, but it's such a satisfying experience. There
It
is
is.
no competition. There is we, not I, and there's not
That's right.
that and all that sort of other thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I feel that way 100%, and I'm on a mission right now to help get the wedding industry back on track and even better than ever. But
Yes.
in my efforts to doing that, and a leadership role as the local chapter president for the chapter that I'm forming,
Hmm.
is to help change their mindset from
Okay.
what it used to be. And what a perfect time to do that. The perfect
Absolutely.
time is now during the pandemic because people are open to listening. People are open to
Absolutely.
change a little bit more, and people are open to growth. And this is a
Absolutely.
perfect time for me to jump into a leadership role and help recondition people's mindset in a industry that has become a very doggish world
Mm.
and blocking one another. Why block each other when you have your strengths, I have my strengths, and together
Yes,
we can serve the purpose of that one client?
absolutely.
Don't try to be everything if you're not.
No, absolutely. You know, at the beginning, when I talked about having to pivot, that is one thing COVID has, I think, forced all of us to do, pivot personally, professionally, whatever. But I just
Yeah.
love what you're talking about you want to call it coming together,
Yeah.
and working together to get ahead, to make a difference, to make a change, all that sort of thing, because we know that together we're stronger, and that's not supposed to be some sort of cliche, but it's the truth. um, what you're demonstrating and what you're leading by example, what you're doing, I mean, bravo, because I also know that that must be at times very, very challenging, because there's still going to be people stuck to their old ways and their old
Yes.
mindsets and stuff like that, and want to tear you down and point, what is she doing, and everything like that. But it is in the collective that we are, I think, how we unite and how we move forward.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you just gave me another tagline, a
Oh,
hashtag, not a
what?
tagline, a hashtag. You said, together we are stronger. This past last week, I think I mentioned to you too that
Okay.
last week was jam packed for me because I had two conferences that I had to
Yes,
attend.
yes, yes.
So the first conference was a 3-day conference. Let me tell you something, those conferences were magnificent.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to hear that.
Magnificent. I mean, just wealth of information and insights. And oh
Oh,
my
right.
God, the speakers were fabulous. So one of them
Excellent.
was driven in the pharmaceutical world, the other one was towards technology.
Okay.
Women, well, people of color in tech, in the tech world or industry, fabulous. So anyway, the second conference, which was the tech industry one of the speakers said something and it hit home.
Okay.
And I turned around and put in the chat box hashtag whatever the quote was. Her quote was, "Together we are limitless." And
Absolutely.
you said today, "Together we are stronger." And the day that she said that, I went flying on LinkedIn and started hashtag together we are limitless, hashtag this, hashtag that. I'm putting it in my presentations and everything
Yeah.
like that. So now I'm going to borrow that quote from you too. And now for a while, I'm going to have my team incorporate two hashtags for quite some time when it comes down to the missions and the things that we believe in. Because of me, I'm going to put hashtag together we are limitless, hashtag together we are stronger.
Right on. Well, you go, Gracie, go, because
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences. The fact
Me
that
neither.
that phrase came up last week, and I'm just speaking from my heart when
That's
I
right.
when I say that. There was no preconceived notion about that. I don't even know where that came from, but it's something I truly believe. But the fact
It's
that
just
the matter
magnetic.
is that here it is again along
Yeah,
that same thread. That to me is very significant. That is very
I
powerful.
agree 100%. So I got one last question for you. We went a
Sure.
little bit over time, but it is definitely worth it. Um, when it comes down to being a coach for leaders, how exactly does it come about for a coach like yourself? Is it something that the leaders sought after themselves, or is it something that, excuse me, can potentially be presented to them by their HR department? How does this work?
Well, for me, I'm working with people individually. I haven't worked with anyone in the corporate departments, HR departments yet. So it has been, in terms of those personally seeking change. Those are that are for whatever reason they're personally dissatisfied with where they're at, whether they're
Hey,
experiencing a little bit of burnout or they just know that they're stuck or they're just deeply dissatisfied. They just know that there's something wrong. And so everybody that I've worked with and am working with has personally sought me out. It hasn't been through a major corporate HR department. It's been all on an individual basis, which I think
right.
is very powerful. And also, I will also say it's something they've self-identified. This is not situations where they were told, okay, you now need to go find a leadership coach because XYZ
Right.
on your performance appraisal or something like that. So I actually tells me how much they're motivated already because they're
Yeah.
self-seeking. And that, again, I can relate because that was me a while ago.
I applaud those that do that. But I also, coming from the corporate world myself, I feel as though it's something that all HR for all companies and
Yes.
corporations, no matter what the industry is, should consider incorporating this into their development plans for all leaders.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons why corporate has the bad reputation that it has is because people misuse the power that they have. Let's face it, you
Absolutely.
are given power when you're in a seat of leadership,
Absolutely.
and there's no denying that. But to
Absolutely.
abuse it or misuse it is another thing. And then there's also the burden and stress of being a
Yes.
leader.
Yes.
Sometimes, you're human
Absolutely.
and sometimes you're stuck with, how do I handle this? How do I
Absolutely.
resolve this matter? How can I come up with the right solution for my
Mhm.
team or that individual? And when you have so much on your plate
Mhm.
as a leader, more than what your staff have to deal with and be faced with, um, you can't always put yourself in their shoes, in their predicament,
Absolutely.
unless you have the right support and the right
Absolutely.
tools to be successful with
Absolutely.
it. So I think it's something that needs to be considered as a standard thing across the
Mhm.
board for everything, everyone that is considered a corporation, even association, anyone that has an HR team or representative. it needs to be incorporated because and done in a way where it's not to be offensive,
Yes.
and say, oh, because of your evaluation you need this,
Mm-hmm.
but here's something that we offer to help you to be successful or stay successful at your role and stuff. One of the things, I consider myself a very impactful leader in the
Mm-hmm.
areas that I was a leader.
Yes.
But my least favorite thing is confrontational.
Yeah.
Dealing with certain personnel
Yeah.
issues that I have to make the best decision
Mm-hmm.
for the company and for the
Yes.
business or for the group or for the
Mm-hmm.
department.
Yes.
And how do I do this without hurting this individual,
Mm-hmm.
without losing the trust and confidence in that individual? How do I do that? And
Absolutely.
I always turn around and feel as though the quick fix and the best solution is a buffer between me and my and
Yeah. Yeah.
someone else take the bullet. But that's not the solution. The
Mm-hmm.
solution is to learn. The solution
Exactly.
is to grow so that I can be a great leader to the people that I want to use as a buffer.
You
And then
know,
in
well
practice so
said.
that they can know how to handle the rest of the
Well
people.
said. You know, you just nailed it, like knocked it out of the park, because I completely agree. And I don't just say that as a coach. I'm now going to put on my other hat as a leader who still is a leader,
Yeah.
in my industry. And it is such a lacking thing in terms of, like, we might have in our HR departments, I can only speak for myself, where
Mhm,
you have these, if you want to call it canned courses,
mhm.
in terms of leadership development and stuff like that. But what you're talking about is like, managing not just, your team and individuals and tough conversations and all those different things. I think they even offer a course on tough conversations, but it's
Mhm.
learning how to be, that difference between a manager and a leader.
Yes,
And, and I'm not talking semantics here, because there is a difference,
there
how
is
you're
a huge
empowering and leading people. But again, that's starting with that self-leadership. And it actually starts even too with, that empowerment, that self-empowerment, but even that art and that skill of those coaching conversations. Because really, when you're leading other people, you're at its best, you're helping them come up with the solutions that they need to come up with, whether it's as a team or as an
right.
individual, and you're drawing that out, and yes, you step in and say what you need to say at times, if certain things happen, but there is a
Mhm.
skill to that, and you're absolutely right there. And that is something anyone can learn. And,
Mhm.
someone will be better at it than others, just with their, natural inclinations and abilities as well. But that is a fundamental, I don't know why, but area that we tend to overlook time and time and time again.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not sure where we go with that, except for, as we have had to pivot, as you've said, and
Mhm.
we've had to turn really, really quickly. I think we're recognizing more and more and more the old tried and true doesn't really work. And
Right.
we do have to adopt these new ways of thinking. We do need to adopt these new ways of going forth. I mean, I applaud the organizations and the companies that have in place what you're talking about, but there's so many that don't.
Yes. Yes. I agree. The politics within the politics of the politics is just exhausting. And
Exactly.
and so many, all jokes aside, so many major corporations lose very talented people because of it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
many of them. And that's why those that have been scarred and
Mhm.
lost the confidence in the big corporate world
Yeah.
do not trust HR,
Oh,
because at the end of the day, HR is designed, and I know this because I studied it when I was in college studying global
okay.
management and business administration.
Mhm.
HR is designed to protect the
The
company.
company.
And the company includes the leaders. Right, wrong, or indifference, their job is to protect them. So even when a leader is being wrong or doing wrong
Mhm.
towards their subordinate staff,
Yeah.
they are being shielded and protected. And HR is not for the employees. They
No.
say they are, and in many cases, they try to be, but you're designed to protect the company
Company.
and their leaders.
Well,
Because,
you know what just popped into mind as you said that, because the very thing that needs to happen is, I know that yes, it's set up and structured to protect the company, protect the leaders, and as you go down. But you also you have to take a page. What is her name? Brene Brown talks about becoming vulnerable and letting that come through. And I know that's the antithesis of companies that want to protect, protect, protect. But at the same time, the way you're actually going to protect is to go like this and to open up and allow for the very discussions and the exploration and the things that need to happen versus shielding, shielding, shielding. It's the
right.
actual opposite. So everything you're saying, I mean, again, bang on, bang on, bang on.
Yeah. Because let's think about that, Denise. When you're protecting the company, who is the company? The leaders, the
The,
CEO, the CFO, the executives, the VPs. That's the company.
Mhm.
They're in the position that they're in for a reason. Their expertise, their level of experience, their level of expertise, but
Yeah,
their lack of is what gets them in trouble.
exactly. Exactly. And the thing about it is, and again, if I talk about vulnerability, it's okay because you're not supposed to know everything. You're not the end all be all. That is, again, the antithesis of what a leader is all about. You need to allow yourself the opportunity to learn and grow. You still, as the people all around you have to, but you're just
Mhm.
maybe learning and growing in a different way in terms of some of the people call them soft skills, but they're not.
Mhm.
They're the very
They're not.
things that you need to succeed in terms of
That's
whether
right.
you're talking about that emotional intelligence, whether you're talking about that connectivity to, like I was talking about your own self leadership and going down to your values and all of that sort of thing and how you're showing up and communicating and things things of that nature. But those are the very, very, very things we need to drill into, that we need to
Mhm.
expand and basically bust loose
Yeah.
to to really grow. It's funny to me, these companies that have, let's say, the tremendous bottom line and the growth and all the other sorts of things, the ones that flourish the most and the best are the ones that in their culture have exactly the very things that we're talking about embedded within them. And it's infused in terms of that leadership that is supportive, that leadership that does hear, that leadership that embraces change, that leadership that is embraces if there's something to discover and help elevate not only just amongst their leadership but obviously with the people that they're leading. Those are the ones that are successful
Yep, that's right. That's right.
and
You
not
can't
leaving these
throw
scarred children behind.
That's right. Because when you come across as if your people are easily disposable of, you're
Yes.
just throwing people away,
Yeah.
and you don't care and stuff. I had a boss in my last corporate job who was that way. He
Mm.
used you up and throw you away and block you for anything else. And he did that to just about every single person on
Oh
our team.
man. Oh, we all have those stories. We all have those stories. Unfortunately, why
Everybody.
do we have these stories?
Everybody he did that to, and time after time after time after time they allow him to do that. And you're talking about high performing people,
Mhm.
people who characteristics are good,
Mhm.
work ethics are great,
Yeah.
loyalty is impeccable.
Yes.
And for him to turn around and be like, oh, the one thing you say to this man, I'm burnt out, I need help, all right, that's it, I'm gunning for you. And he came for
Oh,
you.
I'm not laughing because this is funny because I'm having deja vu and things are popping into my mind in terms of, oh my God,
You're like, I got ulcers. Oh, I'm not feeling good. The stress of work is just killing me. You need to work, but I'm sick. You need to work. And it's like, how can I if I'm sick?
Exactly.
It's just unhumane,
Mhm.
not realistic, blah, blah, blah. And what these companies need to do is say, okay, this is ridiculous. This is
Mhm.
realistic. Yes, it may not be racial discrimination. There may not be any sexual discrimination of any of those type of legal issues,
Right.
but what they're doing is wrong, and
Exactly.
reprimand those managers, those leaders,
Mhm. Mhm.
and for the sake of the company, because at the end of the day, it's the worker bees that are doing the work. Just because you're the leader don't mean you're 100% the expert, because we're the ones that's getting our hands dirty.
Preach, Ruth.
We're
Preach,
the
preach,
ones
preach.
that's doing the hard labor. And then you're taking it, summarizing it, and presenting
Yep.
it.
Yep. Oh my.
That's who you're supposed to be
Oh.
protecting, is everybody.
Everybody.
Not this group
Everybody.
and not that group. Everybody.
Exactly. Everybody. It has nothing to do with power. It has everything to do with the collective and the we were talking about earlier. Um, Full stop.
Wow. Well, that went in another direction too.
As does all of our conversations, but hey, that's what we do.
So I just want to say, outside of this interview that we're doing, I do know that you shared with us about 2020, what 2020 brought you, or had in place for you, and how you've managed to just go right through
That's right.
2020 in spite of the challenges that
That's
it
right.
has presented us all with.
Mhm.
But I do know that, on a sidebar conversation, that you've told me that 21 has been fabulous for you. I'm very grateful to hear that in spite of what 20 did, that you were able to get a nice jump start with
Yes.
21,
Thank
and
you.
that you're kicking off the year soaring into great things and wonderful opportunities. In fact, I felt as though 2020 was really a great, great experience or opportunity for those
Yes.
that were coaches and even speakers.
Yes.
And I applaud those that saw the opportunity, seized the moment, and, jumped on that wave and stuff, because it can only keep going uphill for
Can
you.
only keep going up from here. No, I consider myself eternally blessed. I know there's so many people out there struggling for in
Mhm.
so many ways, whether that's financially, personally, professionally, you name it.
Emotionally.
Um, Absolutely. So all respect, mad respect to what people have been going through, and like how you were saying again earlier about just everything that I have gone through, just in terms of taking advantage of this time in a sense of turning this into an opportunity for myself. It's a blessing,
Yeah.
and I'm eternally grateful. And I'm having the best time with more to come, that I can say. I just get excited when I just think about what's in
Awesome.
store for 2021 and beyond.
And that leaves me with I said the other question was my last one, but this is my last one.
Okay.
What what are you looking forward to for 21 and beyond?
What am I looking forward in 21? It is to continue to step into these opportunities. And it's to continue to kind of, uh, put myself out there and grow, and continue to walk alongside, because as I'm doing that, I'm going to be continuing to more and more and more walking alongside others. And that doesn't just mean as a coach, it means in terms of collaborations that I never would have maybe even thought of. And through
Mhm.
that, I'm walking alongside someone, but I'm also having this tremendously huge growth opportunity for myself, because it's stepping into something new and helping create something new. And it is aligned with that we that I was talking about, all of it. So I'm just looking for more of, I guess, the journey that I'm on, and just enjoying the if I want to call it the ride, but yeah, enjoying the ride as I continue to walk alongside others, to continue to expand personally and professionally, just including in more of the blessing. And that's all I can say about that.
That's awesome. Well, I'm super excited for you. And I see
Thank
nothing
you.
but great things coming your way. I wish you the very best
Thank you.
as you transition from where you're at to where you want to go, and whatever that may look like. Because sometimes what we think we're planning for ourselves may
Yes,
actually shift and change a little bit more.
that's right.
And if it looks good, just go with it.
Okay.
But but I just want to say I see a bright future for you. I see nothing but great things coming your way, and I'm wishing you well with that. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for your
much. Thank you
time.
so much, my friend.
You take care. Don't go anywhere, okay?
Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye.